Hey everyone, I'm Sage East, and this is how I create.
Welcome to This Is How We Create, a show that digs deeper into the creative life of contemporary artists of color. Discover what feeds their creativity and how they found or are finding their artistic voice. Through these intimate and candid conversations, you'll gain insights into the lives of creative professionals of color that are hard to find anywhere else. Welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Sage East, a visionary photographer and director whose lens has become a powerful storytelling tool in contemporary visual culture. From her early days helping her twin brother with his modeling portfolio to becoming one of the most sought-after photographers in the industry, Sage's journey is a testament to the power of discovering one's artistic voice. Her client roster reads like a who's who of global brands. We got Google, Nike, Netflix, Dior. Yet it's her ability to capture authentic emotions and moments that truly sets her work apart. Based between New York and Los Angeles, Sage has photographed some of today's most influential figures from Simone Biles to Cheadle, bringing a distinctive vulnerability and depth to each frame. But you know what? What makes her work particularly compelling is not just the technical excellence, but the intentionality behind each shot and her commitment to reshaping how her community's stories are told. Sage, I have been looking for this forward. I should say, I have been looking forward to this for so long. I have admired your work. I think like you're the bee's knees. So welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Martine. I appreciate it so much. That intro was something. I was just reflecting on everything that you were saying, and I'm like, wow, yeah, it is crazy to think, just where I started and, where I am now. And even like the names that you mentioned, I'm just like, yeah, I definitely did not think that I would even be here, So I appreciate you having me. It means a lot, truly.
And I always, when another photographer says that they like my work, I'm like, it feels better somehow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because I could see a shot and I'm like, yo, there must have been like 20 people in that background. And I could see how like things are lit. You could see, and then you have the best behind the scenes on your Instagram. And so it's always so much fun to kind of just dig into it and marvel.
It's important to show that. Yeah, it's important to show that. I need people to see how I bring this doll to life and just, how many people are involved into making this, magic happen. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. And whenever it looks simple, that's when it's really hard, right? When an image looks simple, like I could do that. No, you can't. Oh, you can't. Not by yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Sage, you grew up in Long Island. And as you were growing up, you did not foresee that you would become a photographer. In fact, you, your brother, as well as your cousin, all thought that you would go into the medical field. Your brother ended up going into the medical field. Can you tell us about those early days and how, in looking back with hindsight, how you think that the arts and creativity influenced you all along?
Yeah, I mean, when I think back to myself, I guess during that time when I was in the, medical field route, I didn't really know who I was though at that time. I was just on a path that, was kind of directed from my parents. This is something that, you should do. It's a good career. As a physician assistant, that was what I wanted to go into. And I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say I hated it or anything. Like I appreciated, the direct patient care that I had and all that stuff too. But it was just from someone else's vision that they had for me. And that was kind of what I did with my brother you mentioned. I had this vision for him, and it wasn't until he basically said no to the modeling career. Like, it wasn't for him. We hashed that out. I had to figure it out from that point on to continue with this camera, right? and see what it brings to my, I guess, just my mind, my life. And yeah, like that's what I can speak on for that time. Like I really just didn't know who I truly was. And as I got older, as I continued on with this craft and photography and finding things that were, inspiring to me and interesting to me, I started to develop like, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm using this tool for. And it has also kind of, led me on to other endeavors in this media industry career that I love. So yeah.
I read in an interview you did that when you first started out in photography, we know that you took photos of your twin brother because he thought, or maybe you thought he was going to be a model. But as you started getting your chops, you started out doing wedding photography.
Yeah. 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 I did events. I did pretty much anything that I can use my camera for. But it all focused on people. That was my muse. Wedding photography it was fun, I will say. But I think, yeah, it's not something that I would, go towards nowadays, right? I just wanted to become more conceptual with my work and go into like more fashion and just certain types of photography and weddings, it kind of phased out for me.
Mm. Can you tell us about that moment when you first got like your first, I guess, big gig, which was a Puma job that came in? Can you talk to us about when you first read that email? Tell us where you were sitting or where you were and your reaction and what went on from there.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, yeah, I was sitting on my bed. I remember I got an email. It was Complex Media, their branded content team. And I mean, I was hyped. I was ecstatic. I was like, yes, this is finally what I've been wanting to work with, like an actual company that I'm familiar with and everybody knows. And this is going to be great for my portfolio. This is going to be great for me to continue. I mean, working with influential talent too. So the talent, her name was IVJ, and at the time I was like familiar with her music, and I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. And I knew that that was going to be a pivotal moment for me. Like that was going to help me get more opportunities in the future. So, yeah, it was definitely something. But looking back at it now, like it was it's such a smaller scale. It was a small scale job in terms of like the ask that the team was looking for, and just it was just so light. But looking back to it now, like in the parts that I do today, yeah, it's just crazy to see the elevation from it.
Yeah, I remember, um, of my very first big break and putting together an invoice or a bid, and I had no idea how to do it. And I had to come up with an estimate. I was like, how do I do that? And then now estimates are like many pages long and are huge, or the numbers are crazy. But I guess where I want to go to next is to really talk about that change in terms of scope of work that you did first in that first job with Puma to the work that you're doing now, and how your artistic voice has changed over time. Before the show started, we were talking about how your work has become a lot moodier than before. Can you tell me about when you decided to make that shift to creating work that was more conceptual, as you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. Well, just to quickly touch on that Puma shoot, that very first branded shoot, that was very like bright and clean and very commercial looking. And I'd say probably a few months after that, honestly, was when I wanted my work to feel more interesting, honestly. And so my motto is, I don't shoot what it looks like, I shoot what it feels like. And what that means to me is obviously honing in on like what I feel in the moment, right? My perspective and how I can bring about feelings within my work with lighting and color and composition. Honestly, all other categories in terms of like styling, talent, locations, all the above. And yeah, how can I bring about this more in-depth feeling when I look at my work. So once I realized that I wanted to move within my career with that motto, I started, tweaking my colors. They used to look very cool and clean and bright. Then it shifted into more muted, right? I don't know if that had to do with like the time of my life, but it was definitely muted and in more kind of docu style perspectives in terms of like the composition and stuff like that, right? Then my work became more warm, and I was just gravitating towards like warmer feeling and warmer colors within my work. The lighting became more experimental with like different types of shaped lighting, playing with shadows, playing with different harder light, just kind of experimenting, honestly. And so it took me experimenting within studio and outdoors and just having fun with it to really see what I gravitated towards and what aligned with my motto, with shouldn't what it feels like. So yeah, I'd say ever since that first one, probably like a year after that was when my style drastically changed into something more moody and warm. And yeah, I mean, I'm proud of it. Like the colors are rich. When I look at my work, like I'm like, yeah, that feels right. That feels good. And I don't see it changing for now. I don't know. I go with the flow too. I don't just stay in one tone. Oh, I will say that. But there's always like a deeper, you see the deeper style within it. So yeah.
Were there kind of glimmers of your current style all along in your old work?
Yeah. When it came to color and lighting, no. When it came to angles, I'd say yes. My composition, yes. My work was, focused around portraiture and like lifestyle work, honestly. So the lens that I use, the type of people that I chose to use as my muse also is consistent with today. But honestly, like the color and the lighting, but the color specifically is vastly different from my work now. So yeah, very different.
Sage, you make it sound so easy, but I know it was probably it took
Yeah,
time and
it
like
did.
um until it felt right. Like there was something where you were in some of the prep materials where you say that you're the photographer who says, damn, or you speak out when
Yeah,
something is so good. Um, and we always expect as artists sometimes that the moment will be like a light bulb going off, ta-da!
yeah, yeah,
When it's just like feeling as if you're walking through muck, like you're mired, you're just going, and all of a sudden it's easier.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. It did take a while for me to actually like feel confident with the style. Again, I was just trying different things, and you mentioned like what I say on set when I'm really feeling the work that I just shot. When I feel like I got the shot, I'm like, oh, I'll be like, damn. That's what I say. Like, I just say it out loud, and I'm very vocal on my sets when I feel good about it, and when I'm just kind of blown away. And I think that with every shoot that I take on, I try to be inspired by my own self, by the work that I just shot. But yeah, just touching back on the style, yeah, it did take a while. I'm not going to say it was just a breeze and I was just in a blink of an eye, like, this is the style I want to do. It took multiple rounds of playing with light and color on even these commercial sets, these are my personal shoots. And yeah, so I'd say maybe like to really perfect it, probably like another year, That's when I really felt like I had my true style, right?
For me, for me it was pretty accidental. I mean, I knew I was looking for something and I would keep aiming for things, but the angles were there, but then it was just all the things that I kept being drawn to. Kind of some of the shots that I would make over and decisions I would make over and over and over again. And it's not until I think I did for the first iteration of what I think my style is, and I wanted to go to the second iteration. That second iteration took me about 2 years until I realized that I wanted to try different things, and then being able to look across a body of work to just see, what was actually floating to to the surface.
Yeah. And I'm really into color theory, obviously, because, that's how I get what I'm looking for with like the feelings and what I'm just trying to portray within the story. So I was reading a lot of books. I was honestly looking at other inspos in my environment, just seeing how colors are paired with each other within honestly just my environment, right? Like with the buildings, with, obviously in New York, the stop signs and stuff like that, just certain colors that are used for certain reasons, right? And thinking about like the why to it all and how I can incorporate within my work. I'm Jamaican. I think about the Jamaican colors and how I can incorporate that whenever it feels right. It's true to me. And so that also was a big part of it, just researching color theory and really understanding that. Because I will say if the color isn't right, I'm probably not going to be, too happy with that. Like that starts from before I even, take a shot usually, or I'm doing a lot of tweaking, obviously in post, or you convert it to black and white, So yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I was going to ask that your colors do feel very Caribbean, and I don't want to say tropical, but it does feel like home for me. That blue of the Caribbean, the clay color of the color of clay, and the green of leaves. Yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. I am taking a color theory class and I'm starting it on Friday. And I'm so excited because I feel like it's one of those things that's just going to rock my world.
Yeah, go into open-minded, like just be prepared to be blown away, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. It's fun. You can use it, within your messaging, within your work. And it just creates like a full circle moment for me, honestly. When I look at even other photographers' works, like, and the colors just, it's like so intentional, right? And so perfect. Like that's how I feel like, photographers can elevate their work even further.
So how do you enter into conversation with an art director or a producer in thinking about the vision when a client comes to you and they're presenting and say you have to create, you have to send over, everything. How do you communicate that?
In terms of me understanding
of what it is that you need to achieve your vision?
Okay. Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, physically how? I would say with, like a treatment, a mood board, a visual board to show them, right? Because we're all kind of visual storytellers and visual creators. So visuals are the best way to show them exactly what I do and what gravitates towards to me, right? So I do show like a treatment or a vision board, a mood board to my art directors or creative directors, producers. And that's honestly something that I do even if they provide one to me. I take what they give me, their initial brief or initial mood board or whatever the case may be. And then I give them back my interpretation of that. And obviously it aligns, but this is just like a more honed in vision of, what I see with this, right? So yeah, that's what I can touch on with that specific approach on how I communicate to them my vision. It's a conversation, we have several meetings too. So going back and forth on like what should be the way to go and what should not be the way to go, the do's and the don'ts. And I do always ask like, what is the story? Like, what are you truly trying to get out of this? Or what are you truly trying to portray? And what audience are you trying to target? What community you're looking to highlight? A lot of my work is centered around community. Like if there's a project that comes my way that is focused on whether that's being Black, the Black community, woman, I don't know, small businesses or something like that, or just something I can really relate to, New York, I'm usually like right there and willing to go all out in allowing you to see the ins and outs of this community the best way possible. So I talk about that too. Yeah, that's kind of what I have right now.
I was hoping you were going to talk about how you do your treatments. Not any specifics, obviously, but using your treatments. And then can we also say that your Pinterest is so good?
Oh, you look at my Pinterest?
Yeah, Girl, I had to prep for this interview. I had to look at your Pinterest.
Yeah,
We looked at
thank
everything.
you.
Yeah, so I could put a link if you're all right with that in
Yeah,
the
go
show
for it. Go
notes.
for it. Yeah. And I can
Yeah.
touch on my treatments too. I can touch on that. No worries. Yeah, I mean, with my treatments, I quickly learned that, the treatment that's like the main way in selling, your vision. And that comes down to obviously the visuals that you use and the design. Even the design, the type being used. And I've been trying to like excel and kind of perfect my treatments over the past couple of years. And honestly, I feel like I'm like a designer now, using InDesign and Adobe InDesign and even like Google Slides, Keynote, whatever. I use kind of all three depending on how I feel for the project. But yeah, with my treatments, it's obviously a lot of visuals. If we're highlighting, say for example, let's talk about my recent shoot with Asia Wilson. She's a WNBA player for ESPN. The initial, I guess, vision was to highlight her being she's obviously a well-known basketball player, but fashion was also a big part of her, last a couple of years, I'd say, right? And she's made a huge impact in that lane. So tying the fashion and basketball world into like one shoot. So the plan was actually to shoot her on a court, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I bring in my style on a court and tie in this fashion presence? And within my treatment, I basically outlined my lighting, right? My composition. I went in depth on the energy, honestly, that I wanted also from Asia. I created like a whole slide of just posing references just to kind of, further allow her to take a look at it if she wanted to. Obviously, she knows her angles, but I always provide that just in case. And to also keep my mind aware of that the day of when I'm shooting too. Within that treatment, I also create a shot list. So again, just kind of whether it's like a medium shot, close up, low angle, top down shot, just getting very descriptive on every part of, my approach when I shoot with Asia. And that was just for that type of treatment. There's obviously, bigger treatments where, I am directing too for video, and that's more in depth. That's a whole nother ballgame that if you like, I can touch on that too. But for photography treatments, those are like the main categories I do touch on, and just my approach, the tone and colors, again, I reiterate, and how I see everything kind of coming together there. But yeah, it's definitely something that I've had to like get better with over the years, because I knew that was like a big part of, selling myself, right? And my vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, treatments that could be its own episode, man.
Yeah.
Because it is, as you mentioned, it is one of those things where you just keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking because you learn so much over time. I remember there was this job that I didn't get, and it's because I didn't put a very specific thing in a treatment, and I had the thought to put it in, but I didn't put it in, but the other person put it in. And I'm not sure if that was the reason why I didn't get the job, but I felt so angry at myself because I was like, because it was a really, we were going to be dealing with a lot of little kids, and we had a shorter window than we wanted. And I talked about how I was going to handle the time, but I didn't go into the specifics I didn't go into as much detail as my spidey sense told me to go into. And so, that's that. But now you learn all of these
Right.
little things.
Right. I guess it's better to over deliver in any case, honestly, just over, even with your shoots, right? Like with my shoots, like I definitely over deliver on things. And with my treatment, just, again, being as descriptive as possible. But honestly, something like that, like I feel like hopefully that wasn't the reason that was, why you didn't get the opportunity.
Who knows? Who knows? They could have already decided, and it was like triple blind. You just never know.
Right. Exactly.
I would love for you to talk a little bit more about adding director to your skills. How did you go about getting the experience you needed, and what have you learned in the process of directing more and more?
Yeah. So, directing is still pretty new like very, very fresh still for me. I'd say it started back in 2020 when like the interest kind of peaked, or maybe 2021. Let's say going into 2021, and that was when a lot of clients were, looking for photographers to actually become like a two in one with directing like a quick commercial shoot, right? And so I was one of those photographers that was, I guess, chosen for a brief shoot. I think the first one was for Adidas for me, and yeah, I mean, it was fun it still is at that today, but at that time, I was just like, oh, okay, this is another medium that I can use to have control on the story and the vision. And that was interesting to me. So I just kind of kept going whenever the opportunity presented itself. But then it shifted to like, okay, now I want to do like actual personal, um, I guess personal work when it comes to video, right? And even throughout that, the directing world, though, I will say it's a lot more work than photography. There's a lot of pre-production days that you'll be needed for, depending on the project, of course. And then you're also needed for production, of course, and then post-production. And there's also projects where I'm doing both. I'm directing and shooting stills. And those are like, oh, okay, yeah. And really, my tactic with those is just, again, over-preparing and making sure that my team is aware of every single thing that I need to get. Communicating with my DP, with the gaffer, their assistants, and just everybody, my assistant director, making sure that everything is fleshed out as much as possible so that I can also have time for my still shots with my photo team, and they are also up to date with everything too. So yeah, it's been fun. I will say it's been definitely like a learning experience for me. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you go about things. I recently directed a commercial for a brand, I'd say a few months ago. And I was just strictly directing. It was like a 2-day shoot. And there were so many, I guess, things that the client was looking to me to actually provide for the vision. And these things wasn't what I normally get asked for when it comes to photography. Like, for example, it could be, okay, what color, well, the production company would ask, how do you see the styling for the extras in the set? And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't think about that. I'm thinking like, oh, okay, the creative team is, focused on those little things, but they were asking me about pretty much everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, literally starting from zero, I am providing my vision. But I love that, I love having the control. So I'd say, yeah, it's been great, as long as I can continue being in those situations and, moments where I can give that control, like I'm usually all for it. But yeah, it's definitely just, you got to take your time with it. Yeah, just over prepare.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I've done a few personal directing gigs, or I guess they're not gigs if they're personal, but personal projects. And it's a lot. It's a lot more, but the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Right. Exactly. And you find yourself a good DP and there you go.
Yes. Yes. And a good gaffer. Yeah. Well, at this point, I'd love to talk about working with high-profile clients and celebrities. You're known to create a bit of vulnerability in your work. And so how do you manage to create an environment of vulnerability and freedom that you're known for when you're working with these high-profile clients?
Yeah. So when I first meet my talent, whether that is, Don, Cheadle, Asia, Wilson, I do show them, like, again, my own vision board for the shoot too. And, I explain to them that I already know you're used to being in front of the camera. So I'm going to let you do your thing too. But this is just like a, what's the, I can't think of the actual terminology for it, but this is just like something that I have to kind of elevate this even further if you're willing to play around more with me, right? And I mean, honestly, 9 times out of 10, they're usually down. Like, they're not going to be like, no, screw your vision. They're not going to do that, right? And we obviously have like a good vibe on set in terms of the music. We ask them for their playlist too, even ahead of the shoot. We have that playing all throughout when they're getting their glam ready. And my team, like I also have like a very outgoing and social team too. Like we don't really come to set super serious. Like we don't do that. We're very family oriented and you just try to have fun over, the course of the whole shoot. And I'm like, I could be dancing, I could be playing around, cracking jokes. Like that's just my personality. So I bring that towards, my talent, make them feel comfortable there. I throughout the shoot, like I'm still like talking to them, hyping them up when they really should be hyped up. Like they're killing it. And I just make them feel supported and feel like they're, doing an amazing job. And I appreciate what they're giving me and blessing my lens with. So yeah, like I think about the Don Cheadle shoot that I did for Vibe. And I mean, Don Cheadle, he showed up to the shoot just very like calm. Like he could be like my dad walking into the shoot, very, laxed. And then when we started shooting, he was just cracking jokes the entire time. And I was like, okay, I appreciated the jokes, but I'm like, okay, let's get back to getting this shot. So his personality definitely worked for what I was trying to go for too. And, I would tell him to do something, he would just do the most and go even past it. And I was like, yes, this is all you can ask for, for a celebrity talent, because sometimes they are reserved too. I will say, like I think I had asked one talent, if you can like do like a little dance real quick, like maybe just vibe out. And they was just like, no. And then you take that and you're like, okay, fine. That's your personality. We'll keep it moving. I want them to feel comfortable. I don't want them to feel out of, their comfort zone if they're, feeling like I'm doing too much or whatever the case may be. Right. So that's my approach. I feed off of their energy and we kind of just go from there. Right. We build upon that.
Well, you've talked about main character moments in your work. Can you tell me a little bit of what that means? And if you have an example to share about an instance where you've, made of where you've implemented this main character moment to allow people to be in their elements. I'd love to hear it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much just going based off of what I also just said too. Just allowing them to take in their space, create a safe space for them to just be. And honestly, it is all about them in that moment. Like they're the only ones in front of my lens. And there's times when I also block out those who are watching, like behind me. Like I'll get like a V flat and set it up, and it's just you and I, right? Because I want you to just be safe and just try this thing or whatever comes to mind. So that's usually like my approach to bringing out that main character energy as well.
Sage, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been so much fun talking with you. I loved it.
Thank you, Martine. I appreciate it. I hope this was a good one for everybody.
Hi there. I have a quick favor to ask you before you go. If you're loving the show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go-to podcast app? Here's the thing. Those reviews are like magic fairy dust. They help other creatives of color discover our show and tap into their own artistic superpowers. While you're at it, why not subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters? Creative Matters is like a weekly dose of inspiration delivered straight to your inbox. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.